President in his remarks reiterated that the government will continue working together with the clergy for the development of the country, adding that they will not be derailed.
Ukisoma Nehemia 4 kuanzia mstari wa kwanza hapo, kulikuwa na watu wajeuri kama hawa, watu wa nia mbaya, watu wa madharau. Wakati Nehemia alikuwa anajaribu kujenga kuta, kuna jamaa anaitwa Sanballat, mwingine anaitwa Tobias. Watu wa kiburi na madharau mingi walikuwa wanamwambia, hata hii ukuta unajenga hii, mbweha peke yake akisimama juu yake inaanguka. Kwani mliambiwa huyo Sanballat na Tobias waliisha? Si wako. Lakini nawauliza, kuta ya Yerusalemu ilijengwa ama Yeriko ilijengwa? Haikujengwa. Si ilijengwa? So wachana na Sanballat na Tobias, wajishughulishe na ile wanashughulisha. Kenya itaenda mbele na mapenzi ya Mungu itatendeka katika taifa letu la Kenya.
While thanking the clergy who came from different counties, Mama Rachel Ruto said that the president has a good plan for the country and needs prayers to support his efforts.
I want to thank each one of you that took time to come here today for these prayers. I want to thank the many intercessors and the many bishops and pastors that have come from the counties. I want to thank you, Your Excellency, and your deputy and your leadership for thinking about the people of this great nation. I can tell you that our president thinks about you every day. God has given him a plan, great plans for this nation.
Niliwaambia ya kwamba hii agenda tumetoa kwa Biblia. Ukisoma Zaburi, Psalms 113 mstari wa 7 na 8, neno la Mungu linasema Mungu humtoa mtu mnyonge mafumbini na humfanya fukara na maskini mpaka wakaketi meza moja na wafalme. That is the story of our nation.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Tess Njenga.
Thank you, Tess. Now, earlier on, President William Ruto held a consultative meeting with workers' representatives led by COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli. Among the issues in discussion was the need to employ more youth and the welfare of diaspora workers, as well as the need to make workplaces safer and more dignified. Unions' role in affordable housing projects and universal health coverage were also discussed. The president said that trade unions are engines of change that drive policy making, thereby contributing to equality and inclusive socioeconomic development in the society. He added that his government will continue engaging and partnering with trade unions to create synergy and speedy resolution of labor-related issues.
I want you to work with us. Mambo ya employees wale wameajiriwa. Number 2, tukubaliane vile we will create more jobs and employ more workers for Kenya. Number 3, apart from salaries and all and the other things that are important, we make sure that we begin the culture of home ownership, and it should be championed by the workers' leadership like yourself. That progressively, nimesikia watu wa Kupet na Nat wanasema ya kwamba walimu. Why not? Teachers should be among the primary beneficiaries of our affordable housing program.
Now, 47% of Kenyans say the competency-based curriculum CBC is better, while 38% still prefer the previous 844 system. This is according to a report on citizens' views on the CBC curriculum launched by Twaweza East Africa today. In the report, Kenyans have cited financial costs and time demands on the parents as the main challenges facing the implementation of the CBC. As Alice Diana reports, the findings of the Twaweza East Africa survey have also revealed that more citizens are generally dissatisfied with the country's direction on curriculum reforms.
As the country marks its 7th year of the implementation of competency-based curriculum CBC, 96% of Kenyans say they have at least heard of the curriculum, while 4% have not heard of it. This is contained in a report released today by the Twaweza East Africa on citizens' views on CBC. The report shows that of those who have heard of CBC, 47% feel it is better, including 11% who say it is much better, while 38% say the previous 844 system is better.
Comparing 47 and 38, that's a difference of around 9%. So why do we have these numbers? What's going on? Is there misinformation? Are citizens aware of what CBC is? Because as we progress, we can also see that almost 10, that's 9% of citizens, they are saying that it's the same. So they're in between. They don't know whether to switch to this or not, or stick with the old system.
The main challenges facing the CBC, as cited by parents in the report, are that it is very costly to implement. This was cited by 74% of parents, who also feel that it is too demanding. Other challenges cited include that teachers are not well trained in teaching CBC, children get complicated assignments, implementation is not clear, and confusion over where children should go for junior high school.
It's too demanding on the part of the parent. So there's a lot of parental involvement, of which parents think that more should be done in school rather than at home. Although research indicates that the more a parent is involved in child's learning, we find the learning outcomes improve. So parents did complain, or they are not quite happy, because it's like most of the load is on their side.
The main changes proposed by citizens on the CBC is to reduce the financial burden on the parents' side, cited by 54% of those interviewed. Other suggestions include to make resources and equipment more widely available, reduce the involvement of parents, build capacity of teachers, reduce the workload on learners, better balance the workload, and provide more civic education to the public on CBC. 1 out of 6 citizens, representing 17%, however, suggested that the CBC to be dropped entirely.
If the government can be able to address the cost aspect, probably more citizens will embrace the new curriculum much more compared to the current situation.
Meanwhile, 2 out of 3 Kenyans are aware that the government has created a task force to review the CBC. Those who think the task force will achieve its objectives are 44%, while 15% feel the task force will not achieve its objective. The survey, which was conducted between November 3rd and 17th, 2022, also revealed that 48% of Kenyans are dissatisfied with the direction Kenya is taking to reform the education curriculum, compared to 36% who are satisfied. 3,000 respondents were involved in the survey, which was conducted through mobile phone.
We take very seriously findings from research such as the one that you have just done. We may not climb rooftops or hilltops to shout what we are doing as a result of the findings, but you can be very assured that we will always, where necessary, review certain aspects of the curriculum and inform implementers appropriately where we have information that necessitates that be done.
Alice Diana, Hope TV Newswatch.
And Newswatch takes a short break at this point. We shall be back with more stories. Don't go too far.
Every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Spotlight.
Do you feel like they are in a place where they can effect a Barack Obama moment?
When you hear the word of God and you hear Jesus is speaking.
Real talk on real issues.
You know, the Bible says faith without works is dead.
The truth of the gospel that will survive the time is not a health and wealth gospel.
When there is time to harmonize and bring one composite amendment.
With idealistic, thought-provoking guests.
So people come to be serviced, to be encouraged, to be empowered.
When the storm is over, you desire the closeness you have with God.
Hosted by Reverend Edward Furi. This week on Testify.
No. There's nothing like salvation. And if I hear that word from your mouth again, I will beat you into pulp. Do not even tell me about salvation. So I went and told my friends, I'm sorry, I can't add this God to my list. My mom has discarded this God. I told God, now here I am, Matatu, they're on a strike. How am I getting to Githurai? Imagine someone just came with the car and said, the Lord told me to give you a lift to wherever you're going.
Oh.
Huh? And I got scared.
Hope TV. Look and live.
Expect the unexpected on the Stars Show.
It's forever enough, always enough.
Anything goes from singing, dance to gymnastics to mind-blowing art. All you need is a skill and a style quality.
I'm 5 levels in the mosquito.
Make sure it is very straight and clean.
Just remember to join us every Saturday with me, your host, Tamika Arnett.
Now, welcome back. Education stakeholders attending the Kenya Keys Conference at Taru have called upon the government to come up with programs to keep students in school as the drought continues to ravage crops and kill economic activities throughout the country. The conference was convened to, among other things, celebrate Kenya Keys milestones in providing high school and university scholarships to needy students from Kwale County, as well as assess the challenges that students are facing during the ongoing drought throughout the country. Nelly Chaboy, the Kenya Keys Conference keynote speaker and the 2022 CNN Hero of the Year, called upon the government to formulate a plan to entrench comprehensive school feeding programs as a way to keep children in school in the face of the ongoing drought. Kenya Keys' other founders, Brent and Rinda Hayes, said that it is important that students continue to remain in school during this harsh economic and climate time if the government is going to succeed in building resilience in the poor and marginalized rural areas.
The impact of climate change and lack of food is being felt there. First and foremost is taking back the retention of students in schools. We have seen them dropping out of school due to hunger and lack of food in their families and households. Others, instead of transiting to the next level of education from primary grade to high school, majority are not doing that, apart from the one we have sponsored. So it affects the transition rates of the students as well as the retention rates of the students. And this is also eating away from our own, what we have been able to build as Kenya Keys in this area. But we are trying all effort. I remember last December we issued seeds for planting to the communities here. And people planted the seeds. We had maize seeds, sorghum and all that. But unfortunately the rain was not enough to support in farming.
When you're looking at the climate and all of the battles that this area is facing with that, the number one drive that every single student has is to stay alive. And we want to get educated, but when you are suffering with hunger, which I cannot imagine this feeling that they're feeling, that is the basic need. And so whatever we are doing has to focus on some of these basic needs and help them fill their bellies so their cups are getting fuller, so they can now have more room to become educated.
Okay, definitely climate change is one of the issues that we are still trying to learn how to maneuver around, and I'm sure the government will be able at some point to address it by educating communities to plant more drought-resistant foods and not depend on the ones that require rain, because some of them die really quickly once the rain is gone.
Now, nominated Senator Gloria Oruoba was a daring legislator today, going all out to demonstrate the shame and embarrassment of menstruation that girls go through. Using herself as the actress, the senator walked to Parliament precincts today with a red-stained white trouser suit to demonstrate the ordeal that girls and women go through when experiencing their menstrual cycle. The senator has given notice of a motion on free sanitary towels to end period poverty. This as the Fourth Senate resumed its second session after a long recess. And Bondo Member of Parliament Dr. Gideon Ochanda has been relieved of his position as the Secretary of the ODM Bondo Sub-Branch during a meeting chaired by Siaya Senator Dr. Oburu Oginga. Members of the branch executive committee who met at the ODM offices in Bondo further resolved that Ochanda be expelled from the party and his sponsorship to Parliament be withdrawn. Reading the resolutions of the meeting, the Vice Chairman of the Bondo Sub-Branch, George Ocheng Mawere, said the legislator's position will be taken over by Yimbo East Member of County Assembly Francis Otiato. Dr. Oginga said ODM cannot tolerate indiscipline within its rank and file and accused Dr. Ochanda of stabbing their party leader at the back.
These people say that they went to State House to look for development or to follow up the pledges which the president made when he visited Nyanza. It is true the president visited Nyanza just hardly 3 weeks ago. I don't know what kind of implementation could have taken place within the 3 weeks for these MPs to go and follow up. What are you going to follow up when it is hardly 3 weeks? And secondly, there is nothing in the State House in terms of development. Development is in the budget. And the budget making process is with us, members of parliament. It is with our member of parliament. If the president made some pledges, it is his responsibility to follow up with parliament to make sure that the ministries bring them in the budget and they pass them. And if they are not there in the budget, that is what he should be questioning and following up with the relevant ministries which do the implementation. The president himself is just the head of the executive, just like a speaker is the head of the of parliament.
A member of a particular political party that is dining with a party that is in competition with your own party is that one that is deemed to have resigned from that particular party which he or she belongs to. So following that section, members of the branch Bondo constituency have agreed and put it on pen to paper that they have expelled Dr. Gideon Ochanda from this position and advise the headquarters of Nairobi, the ODM headquarters, to take immediate action.
Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has assured that there will be no political interference in the running of the Kenya Ports Authority, KPA. Speaking in Mombasa County after presiding over the first board meeting, chaired by the new chair, Benjamin Tayari, CS Murkomen observed that the authority has been rocked by political influence, which has affected its performance. While reiterating that the issues of political agenda and impunity will not interfere with the port's affairs, Murkomen urged the board to engage creatively as it faces a myriad of challenges, including upcoming competition from neighboring countries such as Somalia and Djibouti. At the same time, the KPA chair, Tayari, expressed readiness to undertake the tasks ahead, promising to cultivate teamwork within the authority and ensure service delivery in accordance with the government's vision.
In this time, we are facing serious competition in the region. Okay? I don't want to mention our neighbors because they are still our neighbors. But in a positive way, our neighbors are also, we've been for a long time, the automatic port of choice for countries that are in the region. But that is not the case anymore. Our neighbors, even our neighbor Somalia, is launching their port, I think, in a week's time, the newly built port. Our friends in Djibouti, when we were doing, I think, 800,000 TUs, they were doing 200,000. Now we're in 1.4, they are in 800. So you can see people are catching up with us. Our friends in Tanzania are doing the same. In a positive way, it calls for us also to make sure that we put in necessary investment in this port to keep being, a mile away from competition.
We'll do our best and to ensure that all what you've set for us and His Excellency to make sure that this port becomes one of the best, that will make sure we achieve that. And I also want to assure you that we will work as a team. As you've requested, I believe and I'm very sure that this team will work together. All decisions which we'll make regarding to Kenya Ports Authority will consult very well, will be wise in making our decisions and ensuring that whatever comes out of this room will be best for the country.
And further field, at least 3 people have been killed after a gunman opened fire at Michigan State University in the U.S. Police said the suspect had died apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Another 5 people were injured in the attack at the main campus in the city of East Lansing late on Monday. All campus activities have been cancelled for at least 48 hours. The Michigan shooting is the latest in a growing number of college campus shootings in the U.S.
Police and emergency responders acted quickly. We tended to the victims at both of those scenes, and there was an overwhelming law enforcement response to campus to help with this situation. I can confirm that there were at least 5 victims. All 5 victims were transported to the hospital. Some of those victims do have life-threatening injuries. The suspect in this incident, and we believe there to be one suspect, was last seen leaving the MSU Union on foot out of the north side of that building. We are just receiving surveillance footage of that suspect that we will be releasing shortly.
And a look at business now. The Kenya Flour Council, KFC, has decried lack of government support and taxation coupled with high freight rates, noting that it has seen a decline in the volume of export of flours. Addressing the press on the state of Kenya's floriculture subsector, KFC has noted that floriculture employs over 200,000 Kenyans directly and a further 1 million in the supply of goods and services, thus impacting over 4 million livelihoods. Now, according to the Kenya Flour Council Chief Executive Officer Clement Tulezi, Kenya is among the top 3 producers of cut flours and ornamentals in the world. But despite the relative growth, the subsector industry requires a predictable and stable business environment. Tulezi has further noted that today the industry is struggling, with the margins shrinking by the day, making it difficult for growers to supply the market and maintain Kenya's position as a key producer of cut flours and ornamentals.
As an industry, we have perfected the art of growing cut flours and ornamentals. I don't think there is anyone on the continent who can do better in terms of growing cut flours and ornamentals better than Kenya. We have the right climate, we have the right skills, and we have everything that we need to be able to grow. So when we look at the growth from the early 1980s, how we were able to grow up to probably the year 2010, and from there on what has happened up to 2022, we can say that this industry, if it continued to grow from a tiny sector that we were back then to 2010, if we were able to replicate those numbers, then today we should be talking about over 250 billion industry. That is the potential that is there. And we believe that issues that we are highlighting here, if we come in with practical solutions, we can quickly move to that potential of 250 billion Kenya shillings.
Speaking of flowers, Valentine's Day is still the best market day for florists in Nairobi. This is according to one of them, Maureen Nyawira, who sells flowers in Nairobi's central business district for different clients. We bumped on her today as Kenyans also took their time and resources to buy bouquets of flowers on this 14th day of February, a day that is recognized the world over as the Day of Love.
Business imekuaje siku ya Valentine? Siku ya Valentine's business is always very fulfilling. Ina feeling poa sana to be able to make so many people feel loved, feel happy. So we live for that. day in, day out throughout the year. Typically, when it's Valentine's Day, inakwanga the peak of the year in the gift industry. So alternatively, ikiwa Valentine's, that's the time we make sales. But pia kuna Mother's Day. For some reason, Kenyans are very big on Mother's Day. So during Valentine's, imekuwa poa sana, we can't complain.
And Kenya today received another luxurious cruise ship with 1,500 passengers and crew on board that docked at the port of Mombasa in the wee hours of the morning. About 800 passengers disembarked from the ship MV Artania for excursions, with some heading to Masai Mara, Savo, and other opting to visit tourist sites within Mombasa. This is the second vessel to dock at the port this year after the MV World Odyssey with 795 passengers and crew docked at the port for the second time on the 26th of January. The ship was carrying 1,032 passengers, mostly Germans, and 500 crew from 30 different nations. Addressing the media, KPA General Manager for Corporate Services Edward Kamau said that the cruise tourism season had picked up very well for Kenya.
The season started in September last year, in 2022, and it's going to end around April. So far, we are glad and we are happy to have received 4 vessels so far. And this MV Atania is the second one this year, that is 2023. So what that means is that it's a great thing for our economy and Kenya at large because of the effects that cruise tourism has in the economy. So this has been achieved through collaboration amongst the different government agencies and private players who work together to ensure that the cruise tourism is adequately and effectively promoted in the country.
Where almost 800 passengers went for the excursion at different places. I'm pretty sure that they will enjoy very much nature and hospitality in Kenya. We have mostly German passenger and we have about 500 crew on board, which is about 30 nationalities from all over the world. And as I mentioned, we are pleased with your welcome and your hospitality. I'm sure that it's necessary also for your country, more and more cruise ships coming to make a deal and to grow industry of the tourism, and I wish you all the best in this aspect. Hopefully the world will be open after the pandemic and you will receive in your beautiful port with a very nice opportunity, with an excellent terminal and pier and authorities, and your business will grow up in the future.
And the National Bank of Kenya NBK Board of Directors has appointed George Odhiambo as the Managing Director. Odhiambo replaces Peter Kioko, who has been serving in acting capacity and has been the Finance and Strategy Director since June 2022. Odhiambo is a seasoned banker and the outgoing Managing Director of the Banque Populaire de Rwanda, or BPR Bank Rwanda, since its inception last year, following the merger between KCB Bank Rwanda PLC and the BPR Bank. He is credited with the strengthening and growth of the Rwandan business. NBK Board Director Dr. James Bagaka said they believe Odhiambo has what it takes to drive the future success and growth of NBK. KCB Group CEO Paul Ruto further said Odhiambo's broad management experience will be invaluable to the NBK leadership to execute the business strategy of innovation and growth. Some sports now. Cabra's Sugar and KCB have served up entertaining clashes ever since their first Kenya Cup clash close to a decade ago. Some of these clashes have determined the destination of league title. This Saturday serves as another episode of this long-standing rivalry when the two sides clash at the KCB Sports in Ruaraka in what is without a doubt the highlight fixture on Kenya Cup March Day 10. The two sides are in fine form as they head into the clash. KCB are top of the log on 45 points.